Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the day 2 of Reverberations 2013. A day of education, enthusiasm, and enlightenment. Before we start off, we have a few prerequisites. Please do switch off your mobile phones or keep them in silent mode. Avoid crosstalks when the speaker is on stage. And once the session starts, you may exit the hall during an emergency only. I repeat, you may exit the hall only during an emergency. Timer, please note, the first 45 minutes of the session is reserved for the educational speaker. The next 10 minutes is reserved for the question and answer round by the audience. I repeat, the next 10 minutes is reserved for the question and answer round by the audience. Okay. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And what better an example than Mr. Kichu Krishnan? Mr. Krishnan is a first-generation entrepreneur who started his career in 1976. In 82, he moved to Bangalore and started Sirius Controls. Sirius designs and manufactures various kinds of battery chargers for material handling segments. It represents various companies all over the world to market and service their products in India. It's not just food for thought he sells, he's also the founding partner in Sri Krishna Cafe, a chain of ethnic restaurants in Bangalore. Mr. Krishnan also advises and supports various first-generation entrepreneurs in planning and executing their ideas and dreams, which is another way of saying, keep your elevator pitches ready before you meet him. Another facet of Mr. Krishnan is in working with people. He was associated with Centers Network Forum. Through the workshops and seminars he conducts, he has coached over 60,000 people all over the world in programs conducted. His idea is to contribute and make people to discover their potential in transforming ordinary people into extraordinary beings. The spectrum of people Mr. Krishnan has worked with includes CEOs, managing directors, senior executives, workers of large organizations, students, rural development workers, and destitute children from remand homes. It is rightly said, what we have done for us always dies with us. What we have done for others remains immortal. Mr. Krishnan is the founder and active board member of Maya, an NGO. Maya concentrates on child rights and teaches students and people and educates them on child labor and reform in elementary education. All in all, Mr. Krishnan brings years of extensive experience into his training, added to his intense commitment of people and his unique, disarming sense of humor. So, ladies, gentlemen, please put your hands together to help me welcome the man who has years of experience, yet youth-like presence. It's my honor and privilege to help me welcome Mr. Kichu Krishnan.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning. You know, when he was talking about that I have worked with, let me put on my glasses so I can see y'all, okay? Yeah. That I have worked with more than 60,000 people, I don't know why all of a sudden I remembered the first talk that I gave. Okay, this was sometime in 1979. And I had a mentor of mine called Khurshid Merchant, and she took me along, and we were supposed to address a group of Catholic priests. And she was supposed to talk to them about how to improve their life and make their communication better and their relationship better. And I was supposed to be standing at the back and helping her out. So great. So I went there, and we were about to start, like how it's about to start right now. And Khurshid looks at me and she says, okay, Kichu, now you go up in front and start talking. I had no idea what to say. And I look out into the audience. Y'all look much better, by the way, okay? Because these people were all with brown cassocks, long beards, and at that time, I was 27. And at 27, to tell these people how to run their life. So anyway, I started talking. I experienced that my lips were moving, but I was not very sure whether any sound came out of me. Okay? And then a couple of minutes later, they asked me some questions. That's when I was sure that some sound was coming out of me. Okay? As I was coming in the car today, I looked up the word reverberation. And I found the definition was quite interesting. It is the sound that lingers on after the sound has been made. And I thought that to be a very interesting definition of that word. As I looked into it, I said, isn't that what communication is all about? That when you and me get into a communication with somebody else, it is that lingers on that actually impacts the quality of relationship. What do you think? Does that make sense? Because I just discovered it just now, today morning in the car. And I think it's an appropriate conversation to have today, that what we're going to talk about for some time, very little time in fact, is on communication and relationship. My personal philosophy on this is that both communication and relationship are actually interlinked with each other. That there isn't a separation between the two. That if you have communication, then you have relationship. If you have relationship, then you have communication. And if you take the first two letters of communication and the first two letters of relationship, what do you end up with? Core. And that's the core that is there in every one of us when you and me want to relate to somebody else. And that's what I find so exciting about talking to a group of people like the Toastmasters. I told you in '79, I was pushed onto the front of the room with absolutely no preparation. Now, the fact that I'm still standing here is proof that I survived. Okay, that I'm still there, continuing to do this thing. But with a group like Toastmasters, I think that the work that you people are doing is amazing. To coach people up, to bring them, to give them an opportunity to present themselves in front of a group of people. Because I took the road where I learned only by jumping into the water and learning how to swim. While my other friend Arjun, through the Toastmasters, he has used that as a way to move forward in his ability to communicate, to go along in with people. So it is a privilege to be invited to talk to a group of people like this. So thank you very much for extending this invitation. Thank you very, very much. Okay? And one thing I must say about Pooja, she has been persistent in making sure that everything got set up, right? So thank you very much for that, okay? Thank you indeed. All right, so one of the biggest problems I have in these places is the time. You know, I'm generally used to talking for a minimum of at least 3.5 hours, okay? Minimum. My workshops are for 2 days, okay? 9 o'clock to 7 o'clock, okay? And at 7 o'clock, people don't want to go home. They want to sit back and go back. So I really have to force myself to say all the things that I plan to say in the time that is there, okay? So let me ask a question first, then go to the board. Who is the person with whom you communicate a lot with? Yourself? So what are some things you say to yourself? For example, you know, when the alarm bell rings in the morning and you have made a promise that you will go for a walk at least 4 days of the week, okay, and the alarm bell rings, what are some conversations you have with yourself? Tomorrow. Let's start from tomorrow. You know, let me sleep for 5 minutes more. And then you have these conversations. Sometimes you win, which is you sleep longer. And sometimes the other part of you wins, which says that I'll sleep for, 5 minutes, I'll start this tomorrow, and then that tomorrow doesn't very often come. I'm going to take a small little side road on this. How many of you have some concerns about your weight? I don't know, I'm asking you. You got some concerns about your weight, okay? You know one thing about weight? You never put on weight suddenly. You know? But that's the way we talk to ourselves. The way we talk to ourselves is, I suddenly put on weight. And then we'd rather say, my pants became tighter. Nowadays, the kind of clothes they're making don't shrink. Okay? We rarely say, if we said it, we rarely say, my paunch is getting bigger. Now. But if you, Go ahead. Yeah, but the truth is you're getting bigger. And your pant is still the same circumference or whatever. Okay? So that way you talk to yourself. Many of your positive habits are the way you talk positively yourself. Many of your negative habits are the way you negatively talk to yourself. But the first person with whom you're doing a lot of conversation with is yourself. So I'm going to put that up as I'll just use this part of the board first. A nicer word, which is more personal, is the word me. Self somehow, has some philosophical connotation to it. Get into your inner self, etc. No, get into me. So, you think that there are opportunities for you to improve the way you talk to yourself? Hello, yes, no? I have this big problem in my life. The problem I have in my life is I cannot read your mind. There was a point in my life when I was experimenting with it, and one of my other colleagues told me, Kichu, stop. I said, why? You will then actually find out what they think about you. So it's better that you are in suspense on that. Okay? So from that day I stopped. So when I ask a question, please give me an audible reply. so that I hear what you're saying. Every one of you in this room has a bachelor's degree in sleeping with your eyes open. Every one of you. You're a bachelor of sleeping with eyes open. It started off in school, got better in college, got perfected in company meetings. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm a little old for this stuff nowadays, but I believe in conference calls, people are really good at it. Because there people can't even see you. And there are the others who have reached master's level. They are asleep, their eyes are open, and at regular intervals, they make some noises and they move their head. So what happens is, they not only fool the person who's standing here, they also fool the people who are sitting next to them. Because they think that those people are listening. But there are few of you whom I know who are PhDs. You are really good at this work. You're asleep, your eyes are open, and occasionally you will ask a vague question. Okay? And if the person here asks a question, you will give a vague reply. So that everybody around you and the person here thinks, oh, this person is really paying attention. So, whenever I ask you a question, could you please give me an audible reply? Yes, thank you very much. So, you think it's worthwhile if you started introspecting into yourself and find out what are different ways in which you talk to yourself, to myself, to me, and then see where that takes you into. So that's the first level. Do you agree with me? Okay. Now, how many minutes more have I got? Huh? 12 minutes over. Oh, great. Okay. I need to pace myself, you see. Okay. Now, how many of you are married? How many of you have children? How many of you have a family here? You all have a family, right? Okay. Now, the ones who've been married, okay, who are married, do you remember how it was the first couple of months after being married? Too good, wasn't it? Yeah. Those days. Yeah. So much so that you left the house and you told the other person, I'll be back in 45 minutes. Okay? And it took you 1 hour to come back. You rang the bell. They came running to open the door. And the first question they asked you was, where were you? You're 15 minutes late. Now, X number of years later, you know, I don't even have to say anything. Your imagination is doing all of it for me. Okay? First and foremost, many of us don't ring the bell because you got your own keys with you. And you enter into the house and the other person looks at you and says, oh, you, huh? I thought it was the fill in the blanks, because at that time, that person is more important, you know, than you. The ones of you that have children, do you remember there was a time when you could spend hours talking to your children? See, I began doing this work in 1979, 1980. In those days, I used to say, now when they are 17 and 18, however, as time has gone on, now I've changed that line from now when they are 17 or 18 to now when they are 12 or 13. That you walk into the room and they walk out of the room. They don't actually physically walk out, but they change channels. Okay? The word generation gap is starting off much faster nowadays. And that is out of a communication that happens at the level of family. This also includes family and friends. Here, all the more, along with the word communication, I suspect that the word relationship comes along. It's not just communication. There's a very interesting gentleman called Anthony Robbins. And if you've heard about this guy, called Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins has a very dramatic statement. He says that the quality of your life is a function of the relationships you have in life. It's the quality of relationships, which is the quality of life, which is the quality of communication. You can put all of these together into one, mixed together. How would you say is the quality of relationships in your family life?